observing this day as we celebrate the women in our lives in Kenya today. President William Ruto has launched the G7 strategy for women leaders in this country, the governors, and in that is equally said the importance of recognizing the presence of women in our society. And in studio with me are two ladies who are researchers. I'm talking about Dorcas Mugereri, who is the research fellow at Aga Khan University. Welcome on set. And I have Margaret Murioki, assistant lecturer, Karatina University. Welcome on set as well. Now, tomorrow is International Women's Day, and in studio you are researchers in your respective fields. Just when we talk about women researchers in this country today, do you feel like you've been given your space and you're recognized as a woman researcher?
Okay, before I answer that, I'll introduce myself again. I'm Dorcas Mugereri, a research fellow at Aga Khan University under the Uzima DS Hub, and currently a PhD IT student at Jomo Kenyatta University. So from the question that you've mentioned, I think in terms of the academia world, the trends are kind of improving. It's not like what was observed like in the few years ago, but the government needs to put in more emphasis in supporting research abroad, right? So the government, from my perspective, has not yet gone to actually invest so much in research. That is one of the things that we have observed. But at least there is an increasing trend of the number of women being adopted into research. Yeah.
Would you say the same?
Yes, I would say the same. There's improvement currently, because as she says, there's increased women. We have more women going for STEM courses, that is science, technology, and engineering. And we also have more enrollment, but we've not seen major changes in terms of gender mainstreaming in our research institutions, in our universities. We have not seen major steps towards supporting women, and therefore we have few women enrolling for degrees. But at the bachelor's level, we almost now are achieving gender parity for some courses, but the STEM courses, they are still more biased towards men. And as you go up towards the postgraduate level, from master's to the PhD, then fewer and fewer women go upwards towards obtaining these higher degrees, particularly in research. Yes.
So let me just remain here. And because there are these biases that you say do exist, what are some of the solutions, mitigations that should be put in place to make sure that as women get into undergrad level, that the same women, we see a significant number of them progressing, moving forward? What should be done? What needs to be done?
One of the major changes that need to be done is policy, also on policy, but also looking at the culture in general. We are living in a very patriarchal society where women are cultured to be caretakers, people who are supposed to be getting children, making homes, and they're not taken as people who are able in research. So we need a cultural change in the society where awareness is created, and people are shown that women are not just there maybe to give birth, take care of children, and take up household chores. And this is something that men should be made aware of, that they support their daughters, their wives, to go for this research, to go for education. Instead of just having them in the house, they are the ones to cook, they are the ones to do all the household chores. They should actually be supported. And then at the higher level, the national level, of course, there should be a very deliberate policy change that actually mainstreams a support of gender, equitable gender access to education at all the levels, from the bachelor's to the postgraduate. And this actually means that equitability, when you talk about equality and equitable, it means that sometimes you have to be deliberate and give more chances to women. That is equitable, because if you just look at equality, then you may not achieve equality unless you first look at equitable change. Yes.
Dorcas, she raises very pertinent questions in terms of equality, equitability, and having these discussions. In terms of we know the government wants 100% enrollment, say from primary to high school to campus. But even as you're having that discussion, the higher the level, the lesser women get up there. She says that there has to be deliberate and intention to make sure that this changes. How do we go about it?
Okay, there's one thing, it's one thing to encourage women to join STEM and research, and it's another thing to make sure they are maintained in the STEM research. So there needs to be discussions in the ecosystem to make sure we not only bring in more women to the research, but we also maintain them. That will involve trying to look at the ecosystem, how it actually takes up women, right? Some of the challenges women face and trying to address them, such as the gender stereotyping. As she has mentioned, women are perceived to be more of home caretakers, right? When you think about research, especially in the field I'm in, AI, people will think of it as a very complicated thing, such that when you look at a woman, you see her as not going to actually give an energy to actually make sure what she's doing actually works. So there needs to be discussions to actually work on some of these strategies to ensure that we bring more women, but we also maintain them. And then additionally, there is need of mentioning out women who have succeeded. It is very easy for a young lady out there to want to be a successful person simply because she has seen another woman succeed in that field. So mentioning out the women who have made or who have succeeded in this field, explaining their roles, and also partnering them with the young women for mentorship, for upbringing, is quite important. So we cannot underestimate the role of mentorship, and also recognizing the women who are making impact in this field.
You mentioned a field called AI, and the world over is trying to understand AI.
Yes.
And when you talk about AI, this is, people just say those computer things we do not understand. It is coming to take away our jobs. But as someone who is an AI, a woman who's doing it in AI field, someone would say, can she do it? How do you deal with that? How do you say, I am here to be heard, not just to be seen?
Okay, AI is in place not to take our jobs. It is in place to augment intelligence, to augment human intelligence by automating our daily activities. Thus, when we adopt AI and combine it with the human intelligence, it becomes a bit easier to automate and maximize our throughput. So, for example, let me speak of the project I'm working on at the Aga Khan University. We are using data science to actually study mental health issues and maternal health issues amongst our population. So the kind of data we tend to collect is quite massive, quite impossible for a human to actually go through. But we have these statistical-based models that are in a position to actually decipher patterns inside the data and explain to us what exactly is happening in this population. We have seen a lot of people committing suicide, right? And most of these cases are being related to mental health. So using these technologies, we are able to understand patterns such that you can easily predict who is likely to get depressed. And by that, the policymakers or even the medical practitioners are in a position to easily take action before it gets to the worst step. So AI is not here to take anyone's job, it's just here to augment the human intelligence.
Margaret, she says research is used to make sure that, to help us make decisions moving forward. As a woman who is in research, which you're helping come up with decisions, with policies, with laws that will get to make our lives better, how do people look at you as a woman in research?
First of all, the way people look at me, sometimes people will not really believe in you as a woman. So your work will be more scrutinized as a woman. So it means that you have to work like 5 times more, or even 10 times more than a male colleague would, for you to get recognition, because there's that stereotyping that a woman cannot do it. So even if you are publishing your work in a journal, because in academia and research, you have to publish your work out there for people to read that research and apply the research findings in solving real world problems. So before you are actually published, it actually goes through a peer review process, by a blind peer review process. But in some way, they still get to know who the author is from the language we use as women, because mostly women are not very authoritative in the language they use out there. We actually undersell ourselves, because actually research have shown that male researchers use more positive words like Nobel research findings, unprecedented research findings compared to women. When you're writing, you're not as confident out there. So your work by the end of the day will be more scrutinized, first of all, because you're a woman, and secondly, maybe because the language that you have used out there is not that positive. Yes.
And as we are here, Dorcas Mwigereri, research fellow at the Aga Khan University, and Margaret Muriuki, assistant lecturer at Karatina University, I want to celebrate you. Tomorrow is International Women's Day, and on that, because you are doing great and amazing things to help us come with data that helps to inform decisions, I want to celebrate you and all the women out there. Tomorrow is International Women's Day. We see you, we appreciate you, continue doing the massive and great things that you are doing, whether you are a caregiver, whether you are a researcher, you are a teacher, a police officer. We see you, we appreciate you. To all the women at Standard Media Group, happy International Women's Day. My name is Dennis Asseto. This is Africa Speaks, and enjoy the rest of your viewing.